I'm Sophie Gordon, I'm 30 years old and I work in public relations promoting tourism in the Northern Territory. Well, the great thing about my job is that it changes every day. From day to day, I could be doing something completely different. Today, I came out to the Territory Wildlife Park to interview a raptor trainer. And yeah, I was just trying to find out about what brought her to the Territory. The function of my role is to purely promote the Northern Territory. I might also interview a crocodile trainer. In the past, I've gone tracking with an Indigenous lady in Kakadu National Park, and I've spoken to train spotters in Alice Springs. It's a really mixed bag. I mean, I've met some wonderful characters up here. I was always good at English at school and creative writing, but I must admit I was an incredibly lazy student until year 12, and then I got a bit scared and did some study. At the end of school, I ended up going to Charles Sturt University in New South Wales and doing a communications degree. I majored in print journalism. I ended up working for a contract publishing company for a while, and I wrote for a lot of different magazines there. After that, I ended up sort of taking a career break and went travelling for about 3 years. Did all different stuff. I was an English teacher in Japan for a while, and then a professional secretary in London for a couple of years. Then after I came back from the UK, I really still had the travel bug, but I started thinking about how I could use my skills or how I could sort of get out of Sydney and try something new and still earn money. And Darwin seemed like the most exotic location I could put my finger on. So I actually just sent my resume up to the Northern Territory Tourist Commission thinking travel, Northern Territory, it might happen. So within a couple of months, I was living in Darwin. But it was just fantastic because immediately I was getting to escort journalists on these amazing trips to Alice Springs and Uluru and through Kakadu to the Tiwi Islands. You know, it's just been fantastic. So the one thing I've learned out of that is that it can actually pay to send your resume just out on spec. I know people say that often, and you kind of think, oh yeah, who's going to look at your resume in the mail, really? But sometimes it might just hit at the right time, and you just never know. I think doing a communications degree is probably a good base background in any type of media studies, really. And you can use a communications degree into so many different industries. The other advice I'd give people is to be a little bit adventurous, think outside the square of where you want to live, especially if you want to work in travel and tourism. Often the opportunities are outside of the major metro cities, especially to begin with. Travelling's really, it's a hobby for me, really. So this allows me to do my hobby and work at the same time, which is fantastic. I went to the Australian Tourism Exchange, which is a big tourism conference, and that just blew my mind in terms of how big tourism is in Australia, how important it is to Australia as an industry, how much money, you know, is there, and how many possibilities there is for someone, you know, with writing skills and basic media skills to be promoting Australia and other states within Australia overseas and to other Australians, really. I'm definitely keen to stay in tourism for a while. I love what I do, really. It's great.